Hey guys, Soul here with another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new teaser dropped by Tynan over on his Twitter. We got new DLC for Rimworld. So far all we have is an image giving us some kind of an indication of what we have to look forward to. We're going to take that image apart, take a deep look at what it could all mean, what's coming next, what he's alluding to, and yeah, see what all is connected with all of this. So, without any further ado, let's get right into this video. So, first and foremost, we can see right here, this gentleman has a bird on his shoulder. That's the very first thing that caught my eye. I'm sure it's caught a lot of people's eye. It's really interesting to see. Does that mean we get new pets, new options, new animals? Who knows? However, birds historically have been, especially crows, have been very useful in exploration. And I think overall that's the theme I'm seeing here with this image. And so in crows in particular have helped Vikings in exploration, and in fiction they've also been linked to like being mediators and guides between worlds. Crows are often considered to be the most intelligent bird also, that should be noted. They may be a symbolic substitute for canaries that were often used by coal miners because of their gas sensitivity. They'd warn miners when they needed to leave a cave due to danger. So it could be that crows are coming in here and are helping us try to understand and explore the world and maybe the different aspects of it. I'm not sure. Another thing that we should take a quick look at in this image that leads me to believe that there's going to be a big exploration component here is the amount of shuttles that we see moving back and forth. Now, I don't know if this is a fact, but those shuttles primarily are shuttles that are short distance or planet side shuttles. They are used in the game currently, transport shuttles. You see them in this image zipping back and forth, going various places. And so we've seen them in and out numerous times before. I really think that that is a big component that we should be seeing here, and that it's illustrating you will be moving throughout the planet and exploring more with this DLC. Fascinating, interesting stuff there. Of course, with that said and acknowledged, I think we need to take a look at his suit. There's absolutely something to be gleaned here from everything that is going on that suit. The suit he is wearing includes a helmet which is being held in his hand, and so it appears to have a filtration system on that helmet, and it may connect to those hoses. As you can see with his neck piece, it appears that it closes off, so it's possible that this thing seals completely. And so if that's the case, I bet those tanks on his waist are going to be oxygen tanks. And so this would mean that you're going to be exploring areas that lack oxygen, or maybe even have harmful gases, or worse, honestly, radiation. The joints in his suit are reinforced. We see that on his elbows, his shoulder, and so on. And so that tells me that this suit is not made for combat, but rather it's protective for work and physical labor, movement, and probably in tight spaces where he's going to make several bumps. We don't see any of those sensitive parts of his body being reinforced or protected like we would in normal combat armor, where normally your vital organs are being prioritized, not your elbows and shoulders and knees and your joints. And so that's definitely worth taking note of too. But more importantly, we see copper and gold inlined throughout his whole suit. So that's a really big deal, because copper and especially gold are minerals that are often used to shield from radiation. That is the property they're very well known for, and so that is possibly a really big clue as to what could be coming next. I don't think that's on accident as to why it's been put there. And so radiation and gas is something else we should need to take into consideration when we're looking at this. In the arts of all the various DLCs, we can see numerous backgrounds with a lot of different things going on. However, in this background, we see something emitting off the planet. And that's not something we've seen with the exception of Anomaly. Now, in Anomaly, we see a shadow emitting off the planet, and it's reaching out and spreading, and that alluded to the darkness mechanic that we saw in the Anomaly DLC. In this, we see almost like an aura coming off the planet. And so that's a very popular way of showing and utilizing radiation or gases or other energies. And so it could be that this planet is hazardous, or maybe this area is hazardous because of the radiation that it is exuding and giving off. It could also symbolize greenhouse gases and the effects that are taking place there. And where you have greenhouse gases, you have numerous hazards, including weather and temperature and basically a lack of oxygen, good breathable air, so on and so forth. I'm not confident of this exactly. That could be a little bit of a stretch, but that's something I'm definitely gleaming from this. With that all said, greenhouse gases, radiation, where would it come from? Where would all this be? Why would all this be happening? Well, another thing we see in the image is lava or magma. We see volcanic activity, or at least that's what it appears to be there in the bottom left. And so with volcanic winters already being a part of the game, it's not hard to imagine that they're going to build onto that possibly with volcanic activity. Why not take advantage of that? And so what if this is a hint that we'll be now encountering lava in our gameplay? It is popular in numerous other games where you dig down underground and explore, such as Minecraft. With lava comes dangerous gases, as I've suggested before. And what if the volcanic activity is created by, let's say, a nuclear bomb or nuclear activity? Atomic energy can create tremendous environmental effects, including earthquakes, tsunamis, and possibly even volcanic activity. Interestingly, we only see rocks on the left side of the planet. We don't see anything on the right side by what seems to be a space station, which also leads me to believe that there's been a volcanic activity, possibly sending all that debris into space, all those rocks and so on and so forth that may have come from the planet. A cheeky reason that also we might get some volcanic activity is we know Tynan is always looking for a way to beat us with his game and not allow us to just simply beat his game. And so rock bases, mountain bases are incredibly overpowered. This might be a whole new mechanic and a reason to fear for some of us that like to live inside of a mountain or a rock base. Imagine volcanic activity ripping into your base and lava jetting through the walls. That is a terrifying thought, and I absolutely can imagine it being something that Tynan would add to the game. So it's definitely something to consider. However, wherever there's volcanic activity, there usually is something left behind. Precious minerals, precious treasures, buried loot, buried treasures, and so on and so forth. And so that leads me to the next point that I want to make. I personally believe it's possible we're heading underground. Like pollution, maybe volcanic activity makes an area inhospitable, warranting travel into such areas to navigate caves once active with magma. The rope on the person's waist definitely makes me think that they're suspended somewhere at some point. This is something that we see utilized by rock climbers all the time. It's possible that we will be descending into the depths of new areas filled with gases, radiations, or new hazards, who knows what. Once again, warranting the need for a bird, the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. We can also see a compass, but it appears to be a locket too at the same time. This may be a stretch, but if it is an opening compass, it would be similar to the compasses used by cave explorers and geologists, furthering the theory of going underground. In his care are also minerals and fungi. Both things were found in the depths of the earth, or often found, I should say, in the depths of the earth. Minerals are often buried below the crust, where they are formed, and fungi are also known to be found in caves, dormant areas, thriving in the dark, human, nutrient-rich areas, likely abundant with gems and other rare minerals. Those fungi and gems also seem to be producing their own light, a common trope with irradiated materials. Just throwing that in there. His pouch is also oddly shaped. And honestly, it could be anything. This is also might be a stretch, but it is very similar to the usual shape of a Geiger counter. So it's possible that this bad boy's holding a Geiger counter right there in front of us. There's no clear indication as to what it is in the bag, but it's certainly not nothing. And then I'd say the last thing I want to point out in all of this are the weapons. Oh yeah, like I said, weapons, plural. His weapon on his shoulder is closely modeled to a shotgun, in my opinion. A new charged shotgun, maybe? That'd be really, really cool. It has a strap, meaning that he is making use of his hands primarily and not utilizing the shotgun at all times. And so that leads me to believe that it's more of an exploration type deal that's going on here. And then it needs to be noted that the second weapon, it doesn't necessarily mean it is a weapon, because I'm looking at it on the holster on his leg. It could be a sidearm, it could be some kind of other utility device, but to me, it definitely looks like a gun, looks like a pistol, and so this might be the introduction to sidearms in the game, where we might have a primary weapon and then a sidearm to utilize. Either way, both of these weapons, assuming that that is an actual gun on his waist, would be close quarter combat weapons, meaning that he is suited and equipped for close quarter combat, which makes me believe even more that he's diving down into the depths of the planet, underground, in those caverns and caves left by volcanic activity. I don't know this all for a fact. This is simply me theorizing, but with everything I'm seeing, I definitely see a pattern between all of his equipment and all of his gear. It's definitely making me feel strongly about all of this, so much so that I even made a video. Regardless, I digress. You tell me what you think. Drop down in the comments, let me know. Do you think that this is alluding to anything that I've suggested? Do you think that there's something else at play? Am I completely wrong, or am I on point? Let me know what you think. I'm eager to see your feedback. I really want to pick this apart. I know amongst everybody in the community, there's going to be all kinds of ideas and things and speculation, and I really am eager to hear everybody's feedback on this subject. With that all said, I'm going to give a huge shout out to my Patreon members. They always allow me to make great content, and I'm super duper excited for it, so thank you so much for your support. For those of us that are holding out for this new DLC, super excited. I know you are too. Can't wait for it to come in here and bust up the game and give us some new information, new content, new adventures, new stories. It's going to be great. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I will catch you later. Bye.